Thomas worked as a night security guard at a massive warehouse. He punched in at 8 o'clock every evening and walked out at 6 o'clock the next morning. He spent 10 hours every night walking the perimeter, staying alert, and doing his duty. But all that exertion wasn't moving him forward. He was working hard in a life that was going nowhere. Yet 90 days from this moment, Thomas would no longer be walking these cold streets in a worn-out uniform. He would be working the day shift as a junior accountant, having used those quiet morning hours to bridge the gap between high school education and a professional career. But right now, he lived in a tiny one-room apartment with a broken fan and a single flickering light bulb. He slept on a mattress on the floor. His shoes had holes in the soles. He was 32 years old, and he felt like his life was passing him by while he slept through the daylight. The catalyst for change came on a cold Tuesday morning in November. A phone call from his sister stopped his heart. Their mother had collapsed from exhaustion and stress. She was in the hospital, and they couldn't afford the medicine she needed. Sitting by her hospital bed, Thomas looked at her wrinkled hands that had worked in the fields for decades, just like he worked through the nights. She whispered a final plea. "Thomas, please, my son, do not waste your life like I wasted mine." Seeing the physical toll of a life spent struggling but going nowhere broke his complacency. Standing outside the clinic at 5 a.m., in the quiet darkness before dawn, Thomas realized that working hard wasn't enough. He needed a strategy. He made a decision right then. He would either find a new way to live, or he would die trying. On the bus ride back to town, Thomas met Mr. Chun, a successful businessman who owns several shops. Despite his wealth, Mr. Chun was traveling at 6 a.m. He told Thomas that he woke up at 4:30 every morning to read and plan before the world could distract him. Mr. Chun explained that the hours between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. are the magic hours. While everyone else is still dreaming, you can build the foundation of the life you actually want. He challenged Thomas to change his sleep schedule and use those 2 hours with absolute discipline. This graphic shows the structural blueprint Mr. Chun gave him. Most people spend their lives trying to fix the roof of a house that has no foundation. To change your circumstances, you must dedicate 2 hours every single morning, starting at exactly 5 a.m., to laying the base of your future. Hour 1, from 5 to 6, is for building high-income skills. Thomas decided to learn accounting and Excel. He had no money for classes, so he used free tutorials on his phone. This hour is strictly for learning something that can change your financial reality. Hour 2, from 6 to 7, is for building the body and mind. 30 minutes of physical exercise to wake up the system, followed by 30 minutes of reading or planning. This ensures you are mentally and physically prepared to handle the new skills you're acquiring. This dual-pillar system is mandatory. A sharp mind in a sluggish body will eventually burn out, and a strong body with no specialized skills will remain in manual labor. You need both the engine and the fuel to move your life forward. The first week was grueling. Thomas's body protested the new rhythm, and his mind created 1,000 excuses to hit the snooze button. He was exhausted from his night shifts, and his eyes burned in the early morning cold. At 5 a.m., while his neighbors were still asleep, he sat at a small table. He watched tutorials on data analysis and basic bookkeeping. The concepts were difficult, and his tired mind constantly wandered, but he forced himself to stay until he understood the day's lesson. At 6 a.m., he walked through his quiet neighborhood. The physical movement was the second pillar. It kept him from falling back into a daze and helped cement the logic of the accounting formulas he had just studied. By day 15, the novelty had worn off, and the results were still invisible. This is where most people quit, when the effort is high, but the payoff hasn't arrived. Thomas kept going only by remembering his mother's face in the clinic. Then, on day 21, something changed. Thomas woke up at 4:58 a.m., 2 minutes before his alarm. His internal clock had finally aligned with his ambition. For the first time, he didn't feel like he was fighting himself. He felt like he was finally in control. This 3-week mark is the primary filter. Most people fail because they stop during the pain of adaptation. By continuing, Thomas wasn't gaining a supernatural power. He was simply joining the small percentage of people who possess the discipline to finish the transition that others only talk about. By the end of the second month, the work was compounding. Thomas had completed several online certifications. His daily walks had improved his health, and the constant learning had given him a level of confidence he had never felt before. This chart shows the reality of the compound effect. The progress is slow and flat for weeks. Then it spikes. Thomas didn't wait for a miracle. He created a spreadsheet to organize the warehouse's inventory systems and showed it to his supervisor, proving he had skills far beyond a security detail. On day 87, the supervisor called him in. The company was expanding its bookkeeping team and needed someone who understood the warehouse operations. Because Thomas had spent 90 days preparing for an opportunity he didn't even know existed yet, he was the only logical choice for the job. He transitioned from the night watch to a day shift office role. The increase in salary was significant, but the real change was his status. He was no longer a man the world ignored. He was a specialist who had solved a problem. With his first professional paycheck, he moved his mother into a decent 2-bedroom apartment and ensured she had the medical care she needed. He had fulfilled his promise, not through luck, but through the deliberate use of time. Even after his promotion, Thomas never stopped waking up at 5. He realized that the 5 a.m. habit wasn't just a ladder to get out of a hole. It was the daily practice that would keep him from ever falling back in. The reason 5 a.m. is so effective is that it offers zero environmental distraction. There are no meetings, no phone calls, and no social obligations. It is the only time of day when your focus belongs entirely to you. Science shows willpower is a battery that depletes throughout the day. This chart shows your peak state. By 5 p.m., you're too tired to learn something difficult. But at 5 a.m., you give your goals your freshest mental energy. Here is the challenge. Tonight, set your alarm for exactly 5 a.m. Place your phone on the other side of the room so you have to physically get out of bed to turn it off. Choose one high-impact skill that could change your career: coding, accounting, or a professional certification. Spend 60 minutes on that skill and 60 minutes on your physical and mental health. Do this for 90 days. To make this sustainable, you must protect your 9 p.m. bedtime. You cannot wake up early if you waste your evenings on mindless scrolling. Successful people don't have more time than you. They just make better trades with the time they have. You can either hit snooze tomorrow and stay exactly where you are, or you can get up and start building. Your future self is waiting on the other side of that alarm clock. Don't make them wait.